All right, so this video is going to be going over what was covered in class, doing a walkthrough to set up the semantic HTML for the header for our fictitious coffee house company called Pirate Coffee. Um, so what's going to be covered in this video is that we are going to go over the folder structure, building the folder structure, setting up the reoccurring navigation for the desktop only for our page, using that as an example to build our other pages, making sure all the links work, and that's it. And then we are turning in all those HTML pages. Okay? All right. So what we want to do, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up the doc and we're going to end up looking at it. So I have shown this to you guys before. This is, the example for Pirate Coffee that we have went over for setting up the content, all of that stuff. So all the colors, everything set up, the wireframes, just like what I want you guys to do. Okay, so the area that we need to go to is our wireframe area, and we will do this so that we can first see what is the layout that we want for our reoccurring items. So this I've already went through on a design of what I want it to look like. Now there's a couple things that we got to kind of consider when we are getting ready to write this code, is we have to decide if this is going to be, if we're going to do top down or bottom up development. Okay, top down means that we are starting with a desktop computer. We're designing the layout for what we want it to look like on a desktop, and then we will selectively degrade our web page so that it will be designed to fit on a tablet and look good, and then designed to fit on a cell phone and look good. So that means that we start with a desktop and work our way down to cell phone. Okay, so there would be an example of my reoccurring element for tablet. And then here would be an example of my reoccurring navigation for a cell phone. Now, bottom up is where I would start with my cell phone design. I would develop this, and then as I upgrade my look with additional screen real estate with the width, then I can make my navigation include that screen real estate and start to look different. To me, it makes more sense to start with top down design and degrade my parts. Okay, so I'm going to do my walkthrough from top down design. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as my idea of how I'm developing it. That's why we do the brainstorm examples. That's why we kind of design it so that we have something to work off of. Okay, so when I'm first looking at this, I have designed kind of like a hero image. That's what this is called, when I have like a image in the background. This is like the splash page of like what we would first see at the very top of our page. That is what would be like a hero image. Okay, so I have a title in front of it, and then on the bottom I have like my navigation items. So I have my logo, my links, my link 1, link 2, link 3, and then over to the right I have link 4. Okay, now my title would probably be Pirate Coffee. I'm going to end up having a logo on there. Link 1 is going to be my page 1, so that's going to be my our brand. Link 2 is going to be our process. Link 3 is going to be our employees, and link 4 is going to be our merch. Okay, so as I'm doing my initial setup for the semantic HTML, I'm really only designing for desktop right now. I am not going to be doing anything for tablet or cell phone until we actually get all of the desktop pages designed. So I would have to have my reoccurring elements all done, and then all of the pages. So our brand, our process, our employees, and our merch, all of those need to be designed for desktop before I start adding media queries and degrading them to work on the other screen, the other devices. Okay, so what we need to do once we have this in mind, so we already have a design, we're kind of doing it from the content that we've already kind of developed, and that's why we develop our content ahead of time as we're doing this, to have a good idea of our layout. So I'm going to go from here to creating our folder structure. So I'm working on a Mac, which means that my folder structure is going to look a little bit different but as I walked through before, you are going to be putting your folder structure somewhere where you can easily navigate. I suggest in your documents folder. Okay, so in your documents folder, you are going to want to go up to the top left, click on the folder icon, and create a new folder. And then you call it walkthrough, and everything pertaining to this class for walking through this fictitious coffee house will go in this folder. Okay, this is different than your folder that you have titled already My Website for your website code. Okay, you should have two separate folders. So this walkthrough one is going to have all the stuff that we're going through for this fictitious company. So we're going to want to go ahead and click enter, and we have it. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up Atom, and this is what we get. So you may end up having a number of things that are already open. Just go ahead and close all of them. We don't need them. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I need to create a new file. So let's go to New File. Now if I look here, it's showing that it's Untitled. And on the bottom, on the right-hand side, it's saying plain text. I want to see, instead of plain text, I want to see HTML. The way to do that is, and the first thing that we learned is that when we first open a file or create a file, we need to save it. So I'm going to hit, on a MacBook, it's Command S. On a PC, it's going to be Control S to save. Then I need to make sure that I'm going to my Documents folder, locating that walkthrough folder, and then I need to name my file. My very first file that I'm going to arrive at on my website, this Pirate Coffee House, needs to be named index.html. We learned that I can't do it with any caps, but we have to decide what is that first file. What is going to be that first page that users will arrive at on my website? Well, I think for me, I'm going to have the first page be our brand. Feel like I can, doing it that way, we can kind of hype up the idea of this coffee house, of the merchandise that they have before we start covering, what is being sold, how they are making their coffee, and the employees. That is all kind of secondary to building this brand. So I'm going to go ahead and create my very first file for this Pirate Coffee House walkthrough. It needs to be called index.html. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click save. And then I need to double check that it's there. Okay, so if I hover over this, the name of the file, which should now say index.html, it should pop up with an address of the location. This is a major way that we can double check that we are writing on the correct file. If you guys are writing in a different file and then you're trying to open the file for this walkthrough, you're not going to see any changes, and that's because you're writing on the wrong file. So I need to make sure that the file that I open in my browser is the index.html file found in the walkthrough folder. And while I'm in Atom, I can look at that address and I can see that the index.html HTML file is in the walkthrough folder, which is the file that I do want to work on. Now on the bottom right-hand part of the screen, I should see HTML. If I correctly spelled .html as the file extension, then I should have code completion for HTML, which means that now I can type HTML on line 1, click tab, and I have my skeleton code already put in there. Okay, now if I see that blue dot, I need to go ahead and save. So we're going to go ahead and click Command S or Control S on the PC to save. Now title, let's go ahead and give it a title. What page is this? This is our brand. So let's go ahead and write that as a title. I go ahead and save it. Make sure that you guys are saving frequently in case something happens. Okay, now let's go back to our page and kind of decide what's going to happen. Now, the header, which we've learned, that's usually where the main navigation for a page is. So I know I'm going to end up having to have a header. I know that I'm going to have a list of links. So I am going to need to build a navigation element. that's going to have multiple links in there. Okay, so let's start building these pieces. Okay. I'm going to click on the body because this is the visual part of my page. I'm going to go ahead and type header. Make sure that I'm not typing with any caps. It should show code completion, and I can go ahead and hit tab for it to create the opening and closing tags. Okay, inside the header, this is where I need to build up my nav structure. Let's go ahead and type nav, and then I have to decide what I'm going to do. Now, we are going to end up having to make sure that this is designed for a screen reader also. So if we have any people who are completely blind or people who maybe are colorblind, that they will be able to navigate our page using screen readers. So in this nav, because I'm dealing with navigation, I'm going to make, let's call it an H2, and I'm going to just type navigation. Okay, now this I don't really want to be visually seen on my page, so I know I'm ultimately going to be commenting that out or applying a class called SR only so that it will still be read with screen readers but won't be visually seen. Okay, so I'm going to write a comment. I'm going to say SR only code. Okay. And I'm going to use that comment anytime I get to an area where I want that to only apply for screen readers and not for anything else. This navigation, I really don't want that showing up on my page moving forward when I go to CSS. Now, this needs to be a comment, so I could manually write it, but since we have code completion with Atom, all I need to do is just hit Command / on a Mac or Control / on a PC, and it's going to perfectly write these open and closing comments for HTML. So now this is a message for me to let me know that this is the navigation. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our example. That is not actually part of this. What do we have? We do have a title. The title is not actually part of the navigation though. The title is actually part of the header. So let's go ahead and add an H1 here. And this would be like the main title for my page. It may end up being different depending on the page that you're creating, where maybe the H1 is not going to show up in your header, and maybe it's showing where your main content is. It really kind of depends on what type of content you have. But since this is how I'm designing the Pirate Coffee House, I am going to end up having my main title in my header because it's going to say, Pirate Coffee as my title. I need to make sure I'm Command S or Control S to save. Okay, let's double check. So I got that title in. I'm not worrying about layout. I'm not worrying about colorizing any of this right now. I need to make sure I'm properly doing semantic HTML. Okay, so don't worry about designing anything with CSS. That will happen. All right, so I have my header, I have that title, I have a navigation. I don't have anything in the navigation right now. I need to build that out, which means that I need to actually think about this logo. On some websites, when you guys click the logo, it's actually a link. It will go somewhere. Other websites, the logo doesn't do anything. So I have to kind of decide based on how I'm going to structure this on what this logo is. If the logo is going to be a clickable link, then it should be in my navigation element because it is a navigation element is identifying a list of links. Okay. And since that's a part that is also a link, then it should go in there. But if that logo was not clickable, then I don't want it in the navigation. It should probably stay in the header. Okay. In this case, I do want to make my logo actually clickable. I'm going to end up setting it up where it will open up a email. Okay. So ultimately, I wanted to set up to open up an email or maybe a form that they can use to contact me. Okay. So I could start setting up these though. So let's go back to our code. So that means that inside our nav, we have a list of links. Okay. List of links and the order does not matter, which means that I should be using an unordered list. So UL, click tab. I don't know what that is. And now I have my list. List items. I'm not putting a title in here. I should not have a title in an unordered list. Okay, this is a no-go. Don't do this. Okay, so an unordered list, or an ordered list, the only thing that I should end up seeing next would be line items. Okay, so let's go ahead and create them. I am going to end up having 4 of them. So each line item is going to be a link. So inside my line item tags, in between the open and closing tag, I'm going to type the anchor, and then I'm just going to highlight and copy these. So using shortcut keys, it'd be Command C on a Mac, it would be a Control C on a PC, and then Command V on a Mac or Control V on a PC. I'm going to paste those links. So now I have 4 links. Let's look at our thing. This is 4 links. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. I also have my logo. So let's go ahead and do that. So I should have a total of 5. Okay. Now inside here, I am going to need to make some things for each of these individual links. What is this first one? This first one should be my logo. I'm working from the left to the right on my picture. So here, logo, link 1, link 2, link 3, link 4. That's what I need to set up. Okay, so my first one, I'm just going to put it as logo for now. Second one, this is going to be our brand. That should be the first page that we're on. If I'm looking here, see it's already titled our brand. The link 2, this should be our process. Third one should be our employees. And the last one, I'm going to just call it merch for selling our stuff. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this. So Command S or Control S on a PC, and I have saved it. So I don't see that blue dot. I now have my stuff here. Now let's just double check. I got 5 links. They're all part of line items because they're all individual items or individual links that are all part of a list that is unordered, and because they're all clickable links, that would be my navigation. And since these are all recurring elements at the top of my page, introducing my page and has my main navigation, that's going to be my header. Okay, so this all looks good. I have my index page created. Okay, I have all those links. I have everything. The only thing I don't have is the image, but since this looks like it's going to be like a background image, I don't need to worry about that right now. I'm not designing the layout. I'm just putting all the semantic HTML together. Okay, so that part's done. So now I have my index.html page done. So now I need to create, using this as my template, to create the 3 other pages that also have the exact same navigation on every single page to make it a good example of the CRAP principles for repetition, because they are repetitive. I should have the exact same navigation, exact same order of links, everything. Okay, so let's go to create the next page. Well, I could, manually copy this, paste it in another file. I could, type this all over, but working as a good front-end developer means that you are working smarter, not harder. Okay, so that means that I want to do the save as, so I can change the name of the file and create basically another file. So make sure that you guys are looking up what the shortcut is. Mine is Shift Command S. Yours would be Control Shift S, I believe. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write that. I'm in my walkthrough. I already have my index.html file. Now I want to create for my second page, which is going to be our process. So I'm going to call this process.html. Now if I went to look at my folders, let's look at the folders. If I'm in this walkthrough folder, I should now have 2 files. Okay, one for index.html, process.html is my second one. They should look exactly the same right now though. Okay, let's go ahead and save for our next one. So I have my process.html open. I'm going to do save as, and this one's going to be employees.html, and I should see, if I'm looking at my folders, I should see that there are 3 files created. I'm going to do this one more time, and this one's going to be merch.html. Okay, so I should have a total of 4 pages in that walkthrough folder that are all .html. Okay, one, our brand, that's my index. Okay, so now we want to think kind of a little bit about what this is ultimately going to look at like. Since I'm doing a navigation that's the same for every single page, I need to actually open up every single page. So I want to have my employees, my index, and my process all open. Now they all look exactly the same. If I click on them, I shouldn't see any change other than the name of the file. It lets me know at the very top and what tab is active. Okay, I need to start identifying what is the active page that I'm on, okay? Because the active page that I'm on, so let's say that if I'm looking at my index, if this is the Our Brand page, so that would be this, then this link should not be going back to that page because I'm already there, okay? So the page that I'm actively on should be a dead link. That's why we'd want to make it so that we can't keep clicking and loading it. All right, so I'm going to actually start adding a class that we will use later on. I'm going to do this as I'm developing. So class equals, and then I want to give it a name. I'm going to type active dash page, close it with double quotes. Make sure you have a space, otherwise you're going to have issues because your attributes should have a space in between them. Okay, this is going to go on all of my active pages. Okay, so on my index, I am actively on the Our Brand page, so I want to make sure that that class is there. So I need to do this for my other pages. So I'm going to hit Command C to copy this, and then I'm going to go to each of my pages. So my merch page, I know which one I'm on because it says merch. I'm going to go down here to my href for the merch link, and I'm going to paste, which would be Command V or Control V to paste that link. Make sure that there is a space, okay? And then I want to save. I'm going to go to my employees. I go to that link, the employees link. I'm going to paste that class, make sure that there's a space, save. My index, make sure that's for Our Brand. It is. Save. Process.html. Need to make sure that I have that class for the page that I'm actively on. Make sure there's a space. Click Save. So now I should have this active page that is going on a different one every single page. This class active page should only be on the page that is labeled as the tab. So that's the file or the web page that I'm currently on. Okay, so that one, that current page that you're on should be the one that is the dead link. All the rest, I need to actually have the name of the file. Now, because you have all the files in the same folder, to link to them, I need to actually type the name of the file, making sure that I'm spelling exactly the same as how the file is named with no caps and no spaces, okay? So let's go ahead and create. So our brand, when I'm on my index, that is the active page, so I leave that go. But I come up to our process. I'm going to delete that hashtag so it's no longer a dead link. I'm going to type process.html. Okay. That is the page that I'd want to go to if I clicked on our process. The employees, that is not the active page that I'm on, so I'm going to type employees.html. I have to make sure that I'm typing it correctly, okay, so that it will work. My merch, that was my merch.html. So I have those 3 links, and then this should be a dead link for our brand. I'm going to leave the logo also as a dead link. Okay, so what I ultimately want to do with this class is active page class is that whatever that's on, I want that link to look grayed out and not be like selectable. I can't click on it, can't do any of that stuff. So we already have it as a dead link, but I want it to look visually different so I know what page I'm on. Okay, so let's go to our other pages to create that. Let's go ahead and save what we did. I'm going to go to process and I'm going to do this. So our brand, I do not have that active page link on there. So that means I need to link to it. Index.html. I'm not touching this one. Employees.html. Merch.html. Okay, let's go ahead and save. Let's go to the employees page. Our brand that's not active, so it's going to be index.html. Our process is not active, so it's going to be process.html. Make sure you're writing the names of the file that you find in the walkthrough. Okay, merch.html. Okay, if any of these are not working when you're trying to click on them, chances are you wrote the wrong name, or you didn't properly save, or you do not have spaces between your attributes. So make sure that you're checking that stuff. Okay, let's check this. Our brand is going to be index.html. It's not the active page. Our process, not the active page, so it's going to be process.html. Our employees, not the active page, so it's going to be employees.html. All right, let's go ahead and click save. Now, let's go ahead and open our page. So in order to open it, I need to click on my index.html, and it's going to open here. Okay, so I want to see if the links are working. So if I click on, now I'm on the Our Brand page, I know because it's right there. That's the default page. If I click on Our Brand, I should see up here that the hashtag now shows up as the last character, letting me know that it's a dead link. If I click it, it's not loading. Okay, if I click our process, I should see a quick loading and it should have the name of the file. Okay, so there we go. It's showing process.html and I know that I'm in the walkthrough folder. Okay, so I want to double check that all of these, that process is a dead link if I'm on that page. Okay, now this almost looks exactly the same even though I'm testing these. Why is it? Why am I still seeing Our Brand? Well, let's go ahead and look. What, that Our Brand, where is that in our code? It's not here. That's not the clickable link. It's right here in the head where our title was set to Our Brand. But we have that set for every single page. So we need to actually make that change. So index should be Our Brand. All the rest there should be the actual page that it is. So I'm going to put our merch for the merch.html page. That makes sense. Employees, our employees. Okay, and I know what page I'm on because I'm looking at the tab up here. Make sure I save. Index, we're already good. Process, let's go ahead and click here. Our process. Let's go ahead and save. Now I can go back to that page. I can refresh. Let's go and click. I should see this changing each time I'm clicking on a different page. There we go. That's looking pretty cool. Okay, so I want to make sure that all these links, now keep in mind, just because you're clicking on them and you're like, well, they're all working, you're only really checked one from each page. If I'm on the merch page, I know I'm on the merch page because it's named merch. It shows here merch.html. I need to check actually all these links from the merch page. So that means that I need to say merch.html. If I click on it again, it should show up the hyperlink to let me know it's a dead link. Then I need to go and click on each one. So if I clicked on our employees, it opens up the employees.html page. If I clicked on our process, I'm not checking that for the merch link from the merch page. I'm checking it from the employees.html. So that means that you need to go back to the merch page to check that link for clicking on the process. It opens. Let's go back to merch, to brand. That works. So I have to actually click each variation of the links. So if I'm in our brand, I click on our brand. It should show up as a dead link if I'm on that page. Going to a process, I'm now on a different page. I need to go back to our brand be able to check each individual link. Okay, so this is a little tedious process, but if you don't do this before you start developing code, you're going to end up having issues later, and it's going to be hard to find it. Okay, so we need to check each one individually. Make sure that you're going back to the page itself. Okay, so all my links are good. Okay, so I have, in summary, I have started at my brainstorm example. I have looked at how I was going to develop this reoccurring element, knowing that it's going to end up being the same thing for each of my pages. I built a folder structure to do it, and then since I was creating reoccurring items, I wanted them to all have basically the same skeleton code. Their navigation was going to look exactly the same, where I designed it with the active page class being applied only to the current page that we're on. And the current page that we are on has a dead link. All the rest are the named files to open up the different web pages that I have in my folder, which we called walkthrough. So I should have those 4 folders. So in the assignment, you guys are selecting all 4 of these .html files in this as your submission. You're going to turn that in and attach all 4 of those files. Okay, pay attention to deadlines. Okay, this is more than enough time for you guys to get this stuff in. Make sure you guys are using your time effectively. All right, good luck, have fun.